Hello, this is Kabo, and this is a video tutorial on a witch farm. This is a witch farm similar to the one we used on JL2579 server. The idea is that it triggers shifting floors based on independent rows, so when mobs spawn on the rows, you can see only the rows that they're standing on get shifted and move. So the idea is there's a clock running around the edge so that all the rows that are triggered get triggered at the same time. So if you're staying on multiple rows, you don't get stuck by having them offset at all. And then once you shift and fall through, you fall into this water stream, where you get carried along over this slime separator. The one we use on the server used lava, but you can use anything that kills the slimes as soon as they get separated. And then after slimes and other mobs get separated, it comes over here to a drop. So this little thing is just to take care of spiders that get in the system, and then it drops down to a little collection area with fence gates to catch the falling mobs and kill them. You can also use trapdoors here, just a slight difference in height, but both work equally well. They kill the mobs and let the drops through, so pretty simple concept: shifting floors, slime separator, and just a collection point. So works quite well. As you can see, if you have a perimeter cleared out, you get quite a few witches. They spawn pretty quick, and it does a pretty good job. So now I'll show you how to actually build the thing. This tutorial will be presented in parts. You can check out any particular part by clicking the annotation link on the side, or you can continue watching from here to see the entire video. The parts you could check out are the bounding boxes of the witch hut, how to build the shifting floors and piston pushers, how to build the clock, how to do cleanup like blocking off light from repeaters and spawn proofing blocks, and how to build the roof, how to build the slime separator, how to build a spider killer, and then how to build the drop zone and collector. Okay, so the first part of the tutorial is of course to find a witch hut. When you find one, first thing you'll need to do is figure out what the bounds of the spawning area are. So first of all, let's turn on our debug screen here, the F3 screen, and make sure that our entire witch hut is within swampland. So just fly around under here and you can see that the entire biome is in fact swampland, so that's good. The entire area of the hut will be spawning witches. Witches can only spawn in swampland inside of witch huts, so you have to watch out for that. Sometimes there are rivers or jungles or other biomes that mix into the area of your hut, so you have to be careful. Anyway, once you're sure that your hut is in a swamp, you can mark out the area to actually indicate where the spawns will occur. And to do that, simply go out to the front of the spawn hut, go under the veranda, this very edge here, and you can start by marking it out by placing blocks under it. What you'll want to do is go out to the edge where the roof is, and on both sides. So you should have a 7 long thing marked out for this front. Then you want to go back and do the same, and you should have 9 blocks going this way. So that's 7 by 9, and then you want to go up by 5 up to the top of the roof here, and that is your spawning area. It's a 7 by 9 by 5 box. So all of this area enclosed by this box can spawn witches. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this is these are the valid spaces where witches can spawn. So if I wanted a witch to spawn, I could put, for example, some spawning space here, and a witch could spawn in this spot. Or, for the maximum extent, I could put something here, and a witch could spawn in this spot. If I were to put something here, witches would not be able to spawn at this level. They can spawn in this block, but not on top of it. So putting blocks here will not give you witch spawns, they'll give you other mob spawning. So that's an important thing to note about the area of this box. So there we go. 7 by 9 by 5 box. I'm going to go ahead and clear all of this out so it's a little easier to see. Alright, so it's completely cleared out now. You can pretty clearly see the bounds of the witch hut. One thing I'd want to note is, of course, this area that you're seeing here has been set up for this tutorial. You wouldn't have this under normal circumstances. You would have to set up some sort of perimeter with covering things with water, slabs, torches, something to prevent other mobs from spawning. This is just set up for this tutorial so you can see it running at maximum efficiency. But anyway, that's the bounding box for the witch hut. Let's go ahead and start setting up the spawning pads now. Alright, so for the spawning spaces, we will not be using the full area of the witch hut. This may be surprising at first, but I'll explain why later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a 6 by 9 area of the witch hut for spawning. So you have to pick a side to start, either this side or this side. Either one will work, but we're going to start on this side for the tutorial. So what we'll do is we'll do 6, and then it will go down 9. So we'll fill in this area with our top slabs like this, and this will be our 6 by 9 area. We of course want to do the same thing higher up, so once we do it here, we'll also move up and do it above. So now we've got our first floor down. Now we want to do our next one. We're going to go all the way up to the top here and put it at this level. So we're going to the very bottom level that you could have spawns and the very top level that you could have spawns. And once again, the same layout, 6 by 9, just as before. So 6 across and 9 back, and then just fill it in, and you have your 2 spawning pads set up. Alright, so we've got our pad set up. We can go ahead and clear out some of these. I'm going to clear out pretty much all of it. I'll leave a few blocks just in the corners at the top so that I know where the bounds are. I don't really need them, I know where everything is, but I'll just leave them as a reference. So on the top we have those, marking out the location just so that we can remember. Now what we want to do is actually set up some of the pushing things, and to do that we want to extend out to the side a bit first. So I'm going to put some scaffolding here, just using red wool, but you can use whatever you like to use for scaffolding. You know, diamond blocks, glass blocks, ice blocks. Well, maybe not ice blocks because they would turn into water, but you know, whatever you have lying around, just stuff. So go ahead and do this 2 wide scaffolding, 1 below the spawning area on both sides. So we got this 2 by 9 row on all sides, or on both sides of both spawning pads, just like so. There we go. Now, upon these, we want to place fence gates. The reason for fence gates is because we can open them, and when we open them, things like spiders that would, say, potentially walk over the edge, they fall off a little easier. So this isn't going to be completely spawn-proof from non-witch mobs, but we don't really get non-witch mobs very often, so don't have to really worry about it. I will tell you how you can set it up to avoid non-witch mobs if you really want to, but in my personal opinion, it's not worth the trouble because, you know, it works fairly well even with the non-witch mobs coming in. The slime separator works well and everything as well, so not too much to worry about. Alright, so now we've set up all of our fence gates. If you are in the latest snapshot, you could go ahead and open these and then break them because they no longer seem to update when you break the blocks below. So we can go ahead and open them all up and break the blocks below. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so that's done. Now, put a row of glass on the side. So, just like this, a row of glass, and the same thing on the other side. Like so. And of course, do the same thing on the other rows as well. So you should have now a total of 12 rows, 6 spawning pads, 2 open fence gates on both sides, and 2 rows of glass, 1 on each side. So a total of 12 rows, just at the piston pushing limit. Alright, so that's it for the floors. Now we have to actually set up the pistons, which we're going to push. And this is important, so pay attention. On this side, or rather on the side that you went up to the edge of the spawning area, you want the pistons to be directly against the glass. On the side where you left a row of air, you want there to be a row of air between the glass and the pistons. So on this side, we will have the pistons 1 block away with a row of air. So they'll get pushed in this direction first. So we should see this. And on this side, we want the pistons to be directly against the glass. So no space, just right against the glass like this. So it should look like this. Right? Now we can do the same thing down here. And on the other side as well. Okay, so there we go. Done. We've got our rows set up. When this triggers, it will push the blocks in this direction, and then the other side will trigger and push the blocks in this direction. So the floors will shift back and forth. Now, I'll explain why we left this row open, why it is not using a slab, and instead why it is using air. The reason for this is because imagine we did have a slab here. Now we have 7 blocks, we're taking full advantage of the spawning space, but what happens when this side pushes and the mob falls down and this side doesn't push back? In this case, the entire thing is shifted over here, and this block is now outside of our witch spawning boundaries. The result is this block can try to spawn mobs that are not witches, and even if it fails to spawn a mob here for some reason, if you have slabs or something covering it up, sometimes it can spawn inside of here as well, increasing the amount of non-witch mobs that spawn. Now this is fixable if you run a design that will always reset the position of these blocks back to this, but that's not how this particular design works, so you can't do it in this. You could if you don't mind the extra non-witch mob spawning, so you're free to do it if you feel like it, but for the tutorial we'll be leaving that out, just because we want as many witches as possible and as few non-witches as possible. So we'll be just going with 6, whereas if you wanted to, you could go with 7. It wouldn't really affect your rates too much. You still see lots of witches if you properly set up your perimeter, so don't worry about it. Don't think you're losing too much by leaving out that last row. Anyway, now it's time to start setting up the lines for the tripwire to actually power these pistons. Okay, to set up the triggers for this is actually quite simple. What we're going to do is go 2 blocks above our pistons and then 2 blocks back. And this is where we'll put our tripwire hook. This tripwire hook will be attached to this block so that when it triggers, it will cause a sticky piston on the back here to extend, pushing a block down. The block will be in this position where it will connect 2 repeaters together, which will then power the piston here. So what we'll have is a clock running around, and when the clock passes by, if a particular line is on because of the tripwire, it will send power into the piston. And that's how it works. It just loops around, pushing back and forth when there's something standing in there. So we can pretty easily go ahead and set this up. We can just run this all the way down the line, on both sides of course, and on the top level as well. So remember, it's just 2 up and 2 back. The reason for this, of course, is because we want the tripwire to trigger at the mob's head level. We don't want it at their feet level, because if we had tripwire here, we wouldn't have air spaces. We want to have as many air spaces as possible to maximize the spawning efficiency of the spawning pad. So in order to do so, what we do is we put it at this position 2 up and 2 back behind the piston. We also want it here to prevent the tripwire hook from actually triggering the piston there, because it would power the block below. So it's important to keep it back away from the piston so that that doesn't happen. Anyway, I'll go ahead and set all of these up and then show you what it looks like when it's set up. Okay, so everything's set up. You can see I have the repeaters here. You can probably tell how it's going to work now. When the tripwire is triggered, this piston extends, connecting the line. Same thing for above. Pretty simple. Could you move this down and make it shorter? No. Unfortunately you can't, because when you do, both lines get powered at the same time. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it wouldn't be very elegant, I guess you could say. There's no problem with actually doing it functionally, but I wouldn't recommend it. Ideally you want them on the top and the bottom to trigger independent of each other, so typically you don't want to move them down. Anyway, yeah, that's all there is for this part. Now we need to set up the actual tripwire lines and then connect everything up. Okay, so I've skipped the tedious task of wiring up the tripwire. You can sort of see it floating there. Let me go ahead and go into it so you can see how this works. As you can see, when I'm in the tripwire, these get triggered. It can trigger as much as 2 at a time for each mob because they can stand in the middle, and that's an important point. Some of you may be asking, why use a clock at all? Why not just have each row trigger on their own? Yeah, that works. I've seen tutorials that do it. It's actually quite effective. The reason I chose to use a clock that goes around the edge is because on the very rare occasion, and this is very rare, I've only seen it happen a few times, so if you don't want to use a clock like this, you don't have to. But I'm doing it this way because sometimes a mob will spawn and walk a few steps and stand in between 2 rows like this. So they'll be standing here. But when that happens, usually what happens in addition to it is one row will start to trigger before the other one because they're moving, right? So these don't start triggering at the same time, which means they're not moving at the same time if you don't have a clock going around and triggering them at the same time. So in designs that don't control both rows at the same time, what you can end up is one side going back and forth while the other side might be going forth and back. So they're going in opposite directions, or they're offset by a little bit, a couple of ticks. There's basically a space where they're not moving at the same time and the mob is just stuck in the middle and you just have the thing running constantly, mobs not dropping down. Seen it happen a few times, so in order to prevent things from like that, where it just runs constantly, I simply ran a clock around. Simple solution in my opinion, but you can do what you like. Anyway, before we go on to the wiring up of the clock, I want to do a couple finalizing things here. Just close this in a little bit. I'm going to put slabs and stairs in here. The reason for this is something you'll probably want. Not only does it block light, but it also will prevent slimes from spawning inside of here. So, oops. So we can put slabs and or stairs. I'm going to use stairs on the ends because they look a little nicer when they're closed off like this, in my opinion. And slabs in the middle, just because I prefer to put slabs in the middle. You could also use stairs in the middle if you want. But basically, slimes will not be able to spawn in here now, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, now time to actually wire up the clock. Okay, now it's time that we talk about the clock that we'll be using. The clock is pretty simple. We'll just have it running along the back here. It'll go around the entire thing in a loop, and it will just be a 1-tick pulse running around through the clock. So pretty simple. What we'll do is we'll have it come down a few blocks. 1, 2, and 3 blocks should be fine. I'm going to use top slabs on this last level, just so that it's a little easier for another reason, which I'll show you later. But we'll start here with a repeater, and this will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then once again down on this side, 3 blocks, 1, 2, and then top slabs again. So just like that. Now, to run it to the top, we'll do the same thing. Just have it on the back. But it will just be powered by half slabs going up. So what we'll do is put a top slab here, which we can power. Then one here. Here. And finally here. So the power will simply go up like this and then run along the back. Just like that. And actually, you don't need this one because it's going up here as well. So just these three. 1, 2, 3, just like that, and it will run along the back. So when this side gets triggered, both the top and the bottom will push if the tripwire are triggered. Anyway, so now we've counted out from here. This is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now we want a solid block, which will transmit through to a repeater. This is to make the line as long as possible without, stuff. Basically, make this as long as possible without adding more repeaters. So we should only have 4 repeaters in our final result for the clock chain, and that is exactly perfect because we want 2 ticks, 2 redstone ticks of delay for the pistons to retract on either side before the other side pushes. So that is pretty much perfect. But once again, just go to the back of the clock, or the repeaters here, and then we can count down on the sides. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And connect repeaters up like this. And this should be just the perfect length. You can lower this down more if you want, but it's not necessary. 3 blocks should be fine. As long as you cover up the repeaters to prevent the light from getting in, then everything should be okay. So come down here, that's 14, 15, and then we have block, repeater, block, and basically the identical thing rotated 180 degrees on this side as well. So there we go. That is the loop for our clock. Now all we need to do is build a starter for it. So the starter will be setting up on one of these sides. It doesn't matter really which side you choose. You can choose this one or the other one. Whichever is facing the direction that you want to be accessible, just choose one and then go to this little repeater setup with the block, repeater, block. And what we're going to do to set this up, it's very simple. We'll just put a sticky piston here, leave that open. We need to have some sort of power source, so we'll put a lever down there at some point. We'll have another sticky piston below there, and a block upon that. Then we simply put a repeater here, some dust, and our lever to turn it on. So what this does, in case you're not certain, is it extends this to actually turn on the thing. Oh, let's put 2 ticks on there as well, otherwise it won't work. So it extends this piston, this block. Normally, when it's off, it will be in this position. When it turns on, this block will go in there, connecting the line, completing the circuit. And it will also send a pulse through this block piston contraption, which is actually a monostable, or a pulse shortener in this case. That's what we're using it for. Well, it will also be using it as a monostable. But the result is we send a 1-tick pulse into this line, and then it just loops around. So what we see is that. And as you can see, we've got our 1-tick pulse running around. And it's fast enough that this piston can extend and then retract by the time this piston starts extending. So pretty cool, with just 4 repeaters going around. So that's all. We'll of course want to cover all of this up to prevent light from leaking out, for improving the spawn rates on these floors, as well as improving lag conditions by preventing light updates. So I'm just going to run through here quickly, put up some stairs around the edges or something just to make it look a little nicer, as well as block off the light. So I'll just run around and do that, block off as much light as possible, and see you when I'm done with that. Okay, all the repeaters are blocked off, everything's closed up. You can see it's a little more decorated as well. If you want to know exactly what I've done, you can always check out the world download to see for yourself, but the decoration is really however you'd like it. The main important part is to block off as many spaces as possible to prevent the lighting updates from occurring. As you can see here, I've got a little bit of light showing through, but that's not actually coming through because there's a stair there, and it's just coming through the corners of the blocks. These are all pretty much closed up, so no need to worry about that. This is the only one that is sort of uncovered, but that's not a big deal because it's far enough away from over here that it's not really an issue. Now, the last thing to do to actually get this farm up and running is to go over and make sure that we don't have any spaces available for slimes to spawn, or any other mobs for that matter. Right now, all of these mobs could spawn on, and up at the top we've got things that mobs could spawn on. So we've got to go through and cover all of those up as well. So I'll quickly do that and get back to you once I'm done with that. Okay, I think everything should be spawn proofed now, except for the spawning pads in the middle. So what I've done has been to, along the back here, I place solid blocks. So now you have solid blocks here. This will prevent slimes from spawning. Along the bottom here, I also put solid blocks, and upon those solid blocks I placed slabs. So now we have a spawn-proof surface here, and here as well. Slimes cannot spawn if there's a solid block above the block where they would try to spawn. Let's see, what else did I do? On the back here, where I cannot place some solid blocks because I would cut off redstone, I put 2 torches, well, a torch, 4 torches actually. They're 1 block in from the end here, so the end of this redstone, go 1 block in, and that's far enough away to keep them from affecting the spawning pad, and yet still it will easily prevent spawning on these corners here. I've also gone around the top, put slabs and solid blocks around above the redstone around the top as well, and I've added in these guardrails so that if there's some guy who decides he wants to walk around up here, he cannot fall off. He cannot get down. Maybe if he got really lucky and jumped down from one level to another, but probably wouldn't happen that way. So this will keep them from walking off or jumping down most of the time. They should just pretty much always fall through. So that's pretty much all it is for the spawn proofing. Everything should be safe except for the spawn pads, which is exactly what we want. Now we actually need to set up some sort of roof so it's dark enough for things to spawn in here. And this is very simple. We'll simply go a few blocks above where we want our roof, or where our spawn pads are. So say we want our roof here at this height. We'll just go to our corners. Remember, the corner we have is here because when it's moved over one, we'll be using that space. So we've got this 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 9. Yep, there we go. So there's our 7 by 9. And then we simply go 15 out from each of the sides of the corners, and then connect everything up and fill it in. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then once again from the other side of the corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now we should have 15 blocks. We can simply connect them like this with a diagonal thingamajig, like so, and then fill everything in. And we just do this for every corner, so this one would come out 15 as well, and it would come out here, and just build out the entire thing. So I'm going to go ahead and build the roof as well. Okay, so here's the roof. Pretty simple, as I said. Just the size and shape that I mentioned. Looks like we've got a lighting glitch here. Well, whatever. Shouldn't be an issue there. But yeah, just put water on it and slabs around the edge. This keeps the water in and prevents spawning. Could just do slabs or light, whatever. Do what you like. It's just put something over to make it dark underneath and prevent spawning on top. That'll be fine. As you can see, already quite a few witches in here. Of course, they'd be spawning more if I move further back. Let's go around to the clock starter and we'll turn it on and watch it in action for a little bit. So if we come over here, you can see pretty much all witches. I don't see anything non-witch in there yet. Once in a while, you'll get one that's not right, but typically it's not an issue. Let's go ahead and turn it on. See, they all fall down. This is the asynchronicity that I was talking about before. The pushes on one side but doesn't push back because it's not getting constantly triggered. That's fine. The way this particular build works, that's not a problem. And as you can see, lots of witches. Lots of witches. Wow. So many witches. Okay. Anyway, that's really all there is to it for the main spawning part. Now we've got to move on to the water streams and the slime separator. Alright, so to build the slime separator, what we're going to do is go out to where our pistons are. So we've got this space where our pistons are underneath. We're going to go one block in front of that and then drop down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. So what will happen here is things that fall down here will drop 9 blocks down onto this, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 blocks long. And this should line up with the other block in front of the piston. Now we can, of course, also completely close this in so that we don't have to worry about anything falling out on the outside. We'll do that later. But for now, we'll just build up the little drop area for our mobs. So they'll fall in here. We want at least 2 high walls in the back to prevent them from jumping out of the water and escaping from the water canals. So we'll have a 2 high wall in the back. Of course, we can make this taller and fill it all the way to the top so that there's no risk of mobs falling out of the trap for some reason. And we may do that. You can also, of course, use anything other than glass. I'm just using glass because I think it looks nice. Don't have to use it if you don't want. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, because water streams, it can go out 8 blocks. We're going to extend this 8 blocks this way. And that will be our first water stream, pushing the mobs, basically any mob that's in the trap, out away so that we can actually do stuff with it. So yeah, just going to build this up, and then we will continue with the rest of it. Alright, so this is finished up. We just put the wall in on both sides. Now we can put in water all the way across the back, just like this. So now the mobs, they'll fall in here, and they'll just get pushed along and go along this edge. Now to actually build the slime separator, we're going to want stairs here. We want to move them up a little bit so that, well, because we're going to drop them down again. Basically, an easy way to prevent the water streams from mixing, just to put stairs across here. So they'll be pushed up 1 block, not a problem, it's okay. And then they'll drop into the slime separator part. So we'll just close that up a little bit. We need signs, which we shall put across here. The signs across here will hold back the water that we will be placing on the stairs to push forward some more. So I'll just build this all the way across. 13 signs here. That should be it. Yep. Okay. Now we can actually build the separator. And to do this, we're going to want to use fence gates again, because things just fall through fence gates. I'm going to go 4 out. I think 3 would be fine. The biggest slimes are only about 2.5 blocks big, so don't really have to worry about them getting stuck, but we'll do 4 just in case, just to make sure they always go down. We don't want any weird things like them jumping or something like that, because you know slimes do like to jump quite a bit. So just put the blocks there, and then put the fence gates across the entire thing. Just cover it up. And now, if you're in the snapshots, water also does not update fence gates, just like breaking the blocks now does not update fence gates. So you can actually have them opened and then put the water across as well. That will work just fine if you really want to. It's not necessary. Do it however is comfortable for you. These fence gates can be annoying to set up because it's hard to see through them and stuff, but typically they're not too bad, especially now that they don't update when you break blocks or pour water over them. A little annoying for redstone though. Anyway, we can go ahead and open these up. So I'll go ahead and do that. Halfway there. Let's put in the rest of the path here on the other side where the water will flow. We need this to go out 3 more because that will be a total of 8 blocks long, where we'll also have water. And, of course, put in the wall. Just like that. So now we've got a place for the water to flow, and we can go ahead and put that in. So I'll go ahead and put it on these stairs, as you can see what we're doing here. Just an easy way to keep the water in. Everything will go up this and then drop down. You can, of course, use another water stream below. That will work fine as well. There's nothing saying you have to lift them up. I'm just doing it because I felt comfortable doing it. Set up this however is comfortable for you, as long as it works and separates the slimes. There's no problem. So now, to actually build the separator, or the part where this is the separator, the non-slimes will swim over this. Oh, right, we need to make this wall a little bit higher as well, because we don't want them hopping out. But yeah, non-slimes will swim over it, and slimes, which cannot swim at all, will simply fall down, and then you can do whatever to them. You can put them in lava. Well, if with it this close to... Oh, it's pretty far. You could put lava there. That would work. You could kill them on cactus, which is what I'm going to do here. Or, depending on where you are, you could just drop them down. Though slimes, when they drop, they'll split. So, probably best to do something that will kill them continuously. Anyway, for the cactus, we want the cactus to be on this level at the minimum. We can go lower, so we could put the cactus on this level, but we want it at least 2 blocks below here, so if they fall on the cactus they can't jump out. So I'm going to put them on this level. So that's sand, and then we need a layer of glass underneath. So go down 3 blocks, and then put a layer of whatever you're building on. I'm using glass, so that's what I'm going to use underneath. Just the size of the hole, so it's 4 by 13. It's just a platform to place stuff on. So just like that. Now for the sand, we'll do this in a chessboard pattern. Oops. You don't have to do it in a chessboard pattern. You could fill the entire thing with sand if that's how you like to do it. But I like this pattern. And not only does it look a little nicer, but I don't know, it uses less sand. Not like sand is particularly scarce, but there we go. So we can fill this in, of course, with anything. Don't have to use glass. Just set it up like that, and then put in the cactus. So if there's a wall there, you'll have to, of course, break it. Put in your cactus, and it's pretty much done. There's one last step. You'll have to, and you'd probably actually want to do this while you're building. So while you're down here, setting up your slime killer with your cactus, as you're doing it, have some string on hand and put the string on top of the cactus like this. This will prevent the cactus from growing, so that you don't have this going up and breaking your slime separator. This is a little easier to manage than lava, in my opinion. That's why I'm doing it rather than using lava. But like I said, anything that kills the slimes will work. Lava or cactus. I prefer the cactus though, because a little easier to work with than lava. So go ahead and finish this off. Make sure we get the string on top of all of these. Just like that. And I'll also put up some walls around to close this in. Make sure if you're doing this afterward that you don't break your cactus, because you'll have to go back in and fix them. But yeah, that's all there is to it. As soon as you get all the walls in all the way around wherever they're necessary, your slime separator is finished. And we can actually test it out as soon as I put in all of these walls. So let me go ahead and... Yep, looks like it's closed up. Now let's grab a slime and a witch. So if we spawn a witch, you can see the witch will simply swim across, no problem. But the slime, we spawn a slime, will fall down and then die and split into little slimes, and those will die. Even the big slimes can't handle this. They simply fall in there. They can't jump out because it's 2 blocks high, and eventually they get pricked to death by the cactus. And they will also split into many slimes, and from there those slimes will die and split into more slimes, and it's all gone. So that's the slime separator, as you can see, working nicely, separating slimes and witches, or non-slimes. Alright, so now we need to build the drop, and that's about it. So let's go to that. Okay, after the slime separator and before the drop, there are actually 2 more things you can add. The first of which I recommend. It's a spider separator and killer, and then the other is a mob elevator. So spider separator is recommended because spiders, when they get in the system, they typically won't get out, and they'll clog things up, and they'll just sit there being annoying. So in order to do that, pretty simple. We're just going to lay down some normal blocks there, put pressure plates on them, and then put signs across here. This should be obvious. It's for water, of course. It will hold water back, and what we'll do is, once we get this all the way across, we'll put a second row out here. Whoops. Build up the walls here a little bit. Above here, above here, we will put a block like so. And then finally, we want to close this in as well. So this will be the entrance to the mob elevator and the slime killer. You can do them both at the same time. Pretty easy to do that. If you're doing a mob elevator, I actually recommend that you extend this out a little bit more so that it's a little further away from your roof. You can build through the roof, that's not a problem, as long as you don't let light through. There's nothing wrong with it. So just maybe something to keep in mind if you want to. But anyway, now we'll place water in here. I'm going to place it on these glass blocks because it's pretty much the only thing I can hit with the water bucket. So now we have water in here, and what this is doing is pretty much just forcing anything to swim up that gets in here. It pushes them to the wall and they'll swim up. But spiders, which are still going to try to swim up, can't get through here because it's only one wide. So they will simply drown after a while. Not cave spiders, normal spiders. Whereas things like witches will be fine. So witches will go through. They should go through. There we go. Maybe a little tough for them. You can help that by putting another row of blocks here before the water stream that goes up. Anyway, witches can swim up and get out. This guy can't currently get out, but normally they could get out. And spiders, they'll swim up and they can't get out, and as you can see, they will drown and die. So this is as it is. After this, you can build a mob elevator. Of course, you should probably know how to do that. Simply signs with water blocks above the signs to get the mobs moving. And I'm going to do something simple here. Just put, one layer of water elevator and then drop them. So nothing special. We'll just have a water elevator that just goes one block, and then it will drop them here. So we'll simply put a row of signs right here as well. You can make this as high as you want. Just alternate signs and water like any mob elevator. And then at the top of it, put your water streams like this so that they flow this way, and then the mobs can just drop down. Now, of course, just cover this up so the mobs can't escape. And then we can actually build the drop zone where they will die. And the drop zone is very simple. So let's go ahead and close this up, and I'll get down to the bottom where we'll build the drop zone. Alright, for the drop zone, it's pretty simple. We just need to figure out where they're actually going to fall. In the case of witches, they have 13 hearts, which is 26 life, so they need to fall 30 blocks in order to die. So we're just going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And for good measure, I'll go down just a few more. So 35. So okay. Now we have 35 blocks. When the witches hit that, they will definitely die. And then we simply set up a thing to kill them there and collect their items. And that's it. So before that, just to speed things up, I'm going to skip ahead to when I've built all the walls here surrounding that, and then we can actually build the trapdoor or fence gate catchers for the mobs above the collection line stream. So time to skip ahead. Alright, so our drop chute is set up. You can see stuff is falling down. Witches fall down in this one wide gap. Sometimes other things, skeletons, bats, whatever. Stuff is falling down here. That's good. Spiders do not, slimes do not. That's the key behind this. So we've got pretty much what we want falling down. We just have to kill it now. And the way we want to do that is with fence gates. So go ahead and place some fence gates here. Block lag. Fence gate. Just like this. And when they fall upon the fence gates, as you can see, they will die. So go ahead and remove the scaffolding now. What we want is the fence gates to normally be open so the drops will fall through, but then when they're falling through, they'll trigger Tripwire to actually close them. And we're going to do that with a row of redstone behind. Redstone torches. They'll be on these blocks. So what happens is when this torch is on, it's open. When it's off, it's closed. and it'll simply be powered by these blocks. But before we set up those blocks, actually let's go ahead and set up those blocks. So let's go ahead and set this up. We need torches all the way across here. So at the moment things are just falling into oblivion, but we'll just set this up with a tripwire hook on both sides. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks up above the fence. The reason for this is because fences are, their collision box is half a block higher, so it's important to put it up one more than you would need for trapdoors. So if you're doing this with trapdoors, you'll want to do 3 blocks above, but for fence gates you want to do 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have your tripwire running across here. So we'll just set that up really quick. You can hear they're now triggering it. Let's close that back up. And then we can just grab the power coming out of here and run it down along this way. I think that should work. Just like this. There we go. Does it reach? No. We have to use a little bit more. And now this should catch everything that falls down. So, which is dead. Which is dead. Pretty much everything dead. Zombie dead. Alright, now we've put in our collection streams, and we're just going to have a 2 wide, because this is 2 wide here. The way it's set up like this is so that everything can fall and get caught by the streams. Because anything that's sitting on the fence gate will fall through when it opens up. So let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we should have 5 more at this lower level, like that. And then we'll go 1 more out, just because. So we'll go out here, and then let's put some slabs there, like that, and we can go ahead and close this off. So let's just put glass in, like this, and we need water here and here, so everything will flow in that direction. We'll need more glass here. Well, we don't need to use glass, you can use whatever you want as long as it blocks off the water. And then put water in here and here. Glass. There we go. There is our trap. Everything is done. As you can see, we're now collecting our loot. Trap is working just as expected. Witches are coming down. They're getting killed. Their loot is going over there. We can come up here and watch it. See how quickly the witches are spawning. Pretty quickly. Lots of witches dropping down. So I almost forgot about something, so I'm going to cut it in here. This is how you would set up the pushers if you want to prevent any mob except for witches from spawning. So the only difference here, as you can see, is this is, rather than a block, a repeater. And what this does is it removes the solid blocks on the level of your spawning pads. When you have solid blocks on the level of your spawning pads, even when you have slabs or stairs or something on top to prevent mob spawning, what the game will actually do is it will try to spawn the mob here, and it will fail because it will fail the bounding box check because there's a slab there. So it will still try, which means it could try to spawn a skeleton, and then that skeleton will be chosen for the pack of mobs, and then the rest of the pack could spawn over here, so you end up with skeletons spawning in your trap, which you don't really want, but because it's pretty far away, it's already 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away. 5 actually. You would have to travel 5 blocks. It's pretty far, so doesn't really affect it much. As you saw, there weren't very many non-witch mobs spawning in there, but it does happen sometimes. You can do this to completely eliminate it. The only thing you have to keep in mind is this is going to put light, because there's no way to stop the light coming in through here on these blocks, and it will be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 on that block, and 1 on this block. And on this side, with the gap, it will be 1 on that block. Yeah, so that's the major downside. You can't block off the light completely. You might get some lag from that as well. Of course, this is only when this piston is down, so keep in mind the floors will shift, the mobs should fall down. So it won't be very long, maybe just like 3 or 4 ticks. So it could be worth it. It's hard to say. We decided not to go with it because we found that separating the mobs out wasn't particularly any trouble. So we skipped it, but you can do it if you want. Works the same way. Clock running, you just stand here. They move pretty fast. Even with that added delay, they still respond pretty quickly. You can tell 1 tick longer response. Can feel it a little bit, but it's still pretty quick response. And the way it's set up, that shouldn't be an issue. Mobs should fall down. It's really up to you. If you think it's worth putting some light, so 2 on that one and 1 on that one, you can do it. Anyway, let's cut back and end the episode now. Anyway, so as you can see, things are spawning pretty well. The farm is working as expected. Things fall very quickly. Things die very quickly. Slimes get separated out. Mostly witches spawning in there. Not very many non-witches. Occasional bat and occasional skeleton. It works well. Get lots of drops from it. As long as you set up your perimeter, this is working at the pretty much at maximum efficiency for these witch farms, because nothing else can spawn. It's completely void. Of course, you can't really do this in an actual game, but you can do a pretty good job of lighting up the caves and covering things. So, yep, that's the most important thing. Just make sure mobs are actually spawning in your trap. Once you do that, you don't really have to worry about raids too much. So, that's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you find this useful. Of course, this isn't the most effective farm. It's pretty good. It's very effective, but you could find better. It works very well though, and it will get the job done. So try it out if you like it. Check out the world download, of course. All the details will be in it. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.